Good evening. Welcome to the Sunday Pub. If you don't know what this is, it's a live stream that I do every Sunday, just about, more or less every Sunday. And anyone is welcome to join me on screen. If you don't know how to do that, you need to look on the Fireside Discord, which is linked down below. But most of the people who turn up at the Sunday Pub are regulars, like Osa. Hi, Osa. How are you doing? How was your week? How has your reading been? Morton, who is also very often here. Good to see you, man. Where are you from, Morton? Are you also one of the Danes? If I remember your whole name, it's got weird letters in it, non-English letters. I think it was Scandinavia at least, maybe Denmark. Thornall's here. Thornall's always here. Welcome back, Thornall. Good to see ya. How is everybody doing? How has your week been? My week has been interesting. I started working again, freelance and not full-time yet. It'll probably ramp up slowly, but it's good to have something to do. South Denmark, close to the German border. Where, if you don't mind saying, because I used to live in Hamburg, and I also used to live in Denmark. So I probably know the place that you're sitting in. I also used to work for Echo, the Danish shoe company. So I was in Tønder very often, which is very close to the Danish border, or the German border. Hi, Ida. Hi, Safina. Zonderborg. Okay, on the island of Is. I've never been to Is. I lived on Lolland for about a year and a half. Brian is saying hi just to tell us that he won't be here. He's glued to the Vikings game. Me and sports ball never developed a relationship. I've been surrounded all my life by people who are very into one form of sports ball or another, and I was never interested. I think because I was a fat kid, so I have fat kid trauma from sports at school. I was typical of many nerds. I was one of those kids who was last picked, or just in general not at all interested. I would have rather been playing role-playing games or video games or reading or any of millions of things you can do. Sport was always kind of on the last for my thing. I sometimes like watching people watching sports. Like when there's a really big game or it's a live game, I like going to live games, even if I have no idea about the sport or the people, the teams, or any of that stuff, which is always the case because I have no idea about any of them. But I do like going to live games sometimes. There's a lot of energy, and people get weird. People behave in ways that they don't anywhere else. Standing up yelling as a mass mob is kind of crazy, but it's also an interesting exhibition of human behavior. Osa is working her way through Stone Wielder. It's really good. It's only 4 minutes in, and we've got our first Malazan mention. That's good. Yeah, Stone Wielder, for those who don't know, is by Ian C. Esselmont. It's one of the 26 now, I think, Malazan books, outside of the Malazan Book of the Fallen by Stephen Erickson. But Erickson and Esselmont created the world together and both write in that world. Yes, Ryan, sports watchers are often drunk, usually drunk. Yeah. But it's an interesting, I mean, if you go back to more ancient times, we had clearer cultural rituals for letting your stress out and acting a little wild and all of that sort of stuff. And sports is one of the ones that still survives. Jerome's here. Brian started Memories of Ice last night. Excellent. Memories of Ice is one of my very favorite Malazan books that I've read so far. I've only read one N.C. Esselmont book outside of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. So yeah, I'm not, it's not my definitive final judgment, but in the Malazan Book of the Fallen for sure, Memories of Ice is probably my number one. Maybe Crippled God is also pretty hot, but yeah. Colton's here. Hi, Colton. Yes, generally alcohol consumption is better than actual bloodshed. In Europe, in some places, alcohol consumption and sports viewing does sometimes lead to bloodshed. I used to live right next to the soccer for you Americans, football stadium for the team St. Pauli, who are a legendary football team. Not because they're really, really good. I mean, they've never won the European Cup or anything like that. They're not even in that league, but they have sort of a piratey, rough legend behind them. And St. Pauli is this area in Hamburg, which is very lefty, very working class, or it used to be until all of the hipsters moved in. But I used to go to St. Pauli games occasionally because I lived, like, you could look out my kitchen window and see the stadium. So it was pretty easy to go to games. And they occasionally turn into riots afterwards, especially when St. Pauli plays a team that has a more right-leaning inclination or background. So, yeah, there would always be riot police walking around my neighborhood when St. Pauli games were on, because, yeah, that happened occasionally. Rabin is here. Welcome, Rabin. Only the best fantasy novels are on his channel. You should go subscribe, because that's where all of the best fantasy novels are. Yeah, Memories of Ice is fantastic. And Storm Riders are an important part of Stonewielder. That's interesting. I've been really curious about the Storm Riders ever since whatever book they first appeared in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. I don't remember which one it was. I'm really bad at that. Jerome is here, but I think I already greeted him. But he just betrayed Glenn Cook and decided to read a KJ Parker novel instead. But I've heard KJ Parker is really, really good. Mostly just because Alan goes on and on at length about KJ Parker. But it has very huggable characters. Memories of Ice or Stonewielder? Well, probably that sarcasm applies to both. Quite probably. Is it hot where you are? Mattia, who is possibly here. Mattia is usually a lurker. We were chatting on the Discord earlier. And he was saying that it's also quite warm where he is, even though it's night where both of us are now. It's 28 degrees, which as an Australian, I feel... wait a sec. I'm just converting that for you Americans. About 80 in freedom units. Yeah, it's 28 degrees. And as an Australian, I feel very weak saying that 28 degrees is hot. 28 degrees is like spring in Sydney. And it gets up to 40 something in the summer. Wait just a sec. Derry is maybe joining me. Wait just a sec. Yeah, so maybe Derry will be here in a minute. Yeah, it's 28, and that was light, comfortable warmth in Sydney. And I haven't been in Sydney for a while, or I haven't lived in Sydney, especially for a while. And hanging out in Berlin and having been in Hamburg for many years, where like it rarely gets really actually warm, I am not used to it anymore. So 28 feels hot and sticky to me. Don't I have a still suit? I wish I had a still suit. I always thought still suits were a really, really cool idea. I read Dune the first time when I was a teenager, and like Herbert was describing the still suits, and I thought, wow, that's a very smart idea. And it's also a great piece of world building, because it immediately makes really, really clear how important water is and how rare and precious water is. Thornall, where are you, Thornall? I don't remember. I know you've told me before, but 39 degrees at noon is actually warm. It only got up to 31, 32 here today. Yeah. Unusually hot in Gothenburg also last week. School building's old. No AC. Yeah. Yeah. Working with no AC is a pain in the ass. And living in Germany, unless you live in a very modern apartment, which most people don't, you don't by default have AC. Some people buy like these standing AC units, which do seem to help some, but I don't have one of those. It's so little of the year that it really gets hot enough that I worry about it. Oh, Derry is telling me I screwed up the links. Damn it. Somehow I didn't copy the, that's weird. I could have sworn I did. Let me just quickly update that on Discord that would explain why I'm on the screen alone. Okay. Yeah. Oops. Yep. Wait just a sec. And maybe that's better. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, Derry, try again. Oops. Air Greenland has deals for next year. Here is Jerome, who travels at the moment as much as I used to. I don't travel that much anymore, but Jerome is all over the world constantly, and apparently is going to Greenland next year, maybe. That is Mattia, who is here and lurking, watching on big screen TV, and the app there doesn't have chat. You know what I do when I'm watching someone else's stream? I watch it on my big screen TV, and then I open YouTube on my phone and pause the video and just use the chat there, which works a treat. That's right. Thornall is in Romania. Romania is kind of Australian temperature-wise right now. That's crazy. Yeah, Morton. I lived with a Danish woman for quite a while, and I'm well aware of Danish skin. She burned at the drop of a hat. She burned if you put out too many candles. Jerry.
Hello, everybody. I would have been here earlier.
Yeah, no, I totally screwed up. I was in the middle of doing something else yesterday, and I was like, oh damn, I haven't put up the links yet. And
it happens. was just like, I got dressed and everything.
If you're going to join a live stream, I am glad you got dressed.
Hey, the number of times I show up to the pub in my jammies, it's noteworthy that I actually was up early enough to get dressed. Because I was like, no, I'm going to be there.
It's noteworthy that you're
Matt's
up early enough. I mean, like, I'm always impressed and grateful when you join the pub, because I know it's what, 6 in the morning there or something? Yeah.
At the moment.
Quarter past
daylight
6.
savings will stop in 3 or 4 weeks, so it'll be later for me then. That'll be great. But then your clocks will change and we'll go back to being ridiculously out of sync. But there's always a little overlap where it's really good.
Yeah. Well, it is a treat and an honor, as always.
Oh, thank you. You very, very briefly missed getting a full camera shot of the cat, because for the last quarter of an hour he's been sat right here. And I was like, well, I'm not going to make you move because cats and internet are great.
I keep waiting for Fitz to get up here. This is basically her favorite spot.
Yes,
but
we have seen her there.
Yeah, I just recently I had a stack of books right here for months, and I realized that they weren't there for any reason, and I put them back on the shelf sensibly, and now she's like, oh,
now I have room.
I have space. I can really stretch out over here. It's great. Yeah, this is
things you do when you have
this is hashtag Maine Coon problems.
Yeah, they take up so much space. They're enormous.
I have a cat tree that I got when I got her, and when I got her, she was 1.5 kilos lighter and smaller, and she loved it. She would get up there all the time, sleep on the top platform and all of that. And at some point she was just like, too much of me is hanging over. I'm not doing this anymore. She doesn't get on that at all.
I'm a plus size cat. It's not a plus size piece of furniture.
She doesn't use it she uses it now as stairs to get on top of the bookshelves. So that is actually destroying the cat tree, because 6.5 kilos keeps jumping off of the top of the bookshelf onto the top of the cat tree,
which is not designed for 6.5 kilos.
It's not stable enough for that. And she's still growing. So I may have to build a cat tree myself with a really large platform made out of the whole thing made out of steel or something.
That's right. I've spent a long time trying to, I don't know, it's not quite socializing Motsu, because he's a rescue. He's come from a traumatized home. And it's taken us a long time to get him used to being a cat, basically. And he's still not very good at heights. His balance isn't good. He's old. So heights aren't his thing, but he is still a cat. And he quite likes being up higher than usual. So in the last few months, I've got him to the point where he sits on my desk really happily. He's like, I'm the king of the world. And he now has a box right next to my laptop, which he thinks is the most marvelous place. And he's kind of decided that's where he's going to live his life from now. And I feel so clever for having put a box there. Because, that's not the
easiest way to distract a cat. Like, you don't want a cat in this room, put a box in that room,
That's right.
They will certainly go and sit in it for a while at least.
Yes, I have had to make sure he can get to the desk. I mean, it's only desk height, but he's not good at jumping. So there's an ottoman and a chair and a dresser. So he's literally has to take 4 steps to get to the top of the desk. But he's just started to do it at speed.
Alicia's here.
The most glorious thing.
Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Alicia.
Yeah, I always worry.
Hello to Tharnol and Caro and everybody in chat. I did see you all earlier. Hello.
That's right. I haven't greeted Caro yet either. Hi, Caro. Thornol, get your cat fixed. I'm a big advocate for getting, if you've got a pet, get it fixed.
It's what is it? It's responsible cat management.
Yeah, don't let them run around in the world making kittens that no one's going to care for.
Yeah.
That's bad.
It's not as responsible as it could be.
Yeah. Derry's so much more diplomatic than I am.
You can always do things a little bit better. There's a few things you could maybe do there.
I'm much more judgmental than you are. I always worry,
It's not
actually.
cheap. It's expensive to get a cat.
No. I mean, I was lucky. The owner of the original owner of Fitz was unlucky, but I was lucky because the original owner was a breeder.
That's right. Yes.
And Fitz had a little feminine plumbing problem, and the owner had to get her fixed because there was an operation to take some of that stuff out. And then, of course, Fitz was
you get the bonus of
not useful. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Fitz was no longer useful as a breeding cat, so she sold him for a much cheaper price than, I mean, Maine Coon. I've seen Maine Coons going for €600.
Oh God, yeah, because people love them so much.
Yeah,
you know, and if you've got one with papers to say, look, this is a good breed.
I've got. I mean, she is purebred. I've got her papers and all of that, and the owner was like, I really don't want to let her go, but like I can't sell her for breeding.
No.
She's already older, and most people don't want an older cat. So, you know, she sold her for actually pretty reasonable price. And even though your cat never leaves the apartment, Thornell, it's a good idea to get them fixed. I mean, especially if it's like screaming every time it's in heat. I mean,
I didn't think male cats went into heat. Only the girls do.
Yeah, only the girls do, but the male cats notice that there are cats.
Oh yeah, and they call out to go
in the neighborhood.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then they just get grumpy and aggressive, and that's something that male cats do end up with if you don't have them fixed. Is they do become aggressive, and they are far more likely to spray your house and make it smelly.
Yeah, and then they scream and all of that sort of stuff. Costs $800 for a kitten in Slovenia.
Holy moly!
I assume you mean a Maine Coon kitten.
Good breed one.
Yeah. Wow. No, I mean, that is what the breeder did. Fitz is originally Russian, apparently. The breeder ordered her from Russia.
Wow.
And I've got papers that have Russian on them and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
That's oddly cool. Although a little bit sad that your cat has a far more interesting life history than me. So, you know.
I think other than being shipped over from Russia, her life history is basically sleeping and occasionally in between eating. Yeah. So not too interesting, really. Maine Coon kitten, yeah. Okay. Tori's here. Yeah. You are welcome if you want to join us on screen. Are you still out in the wilderness?
A correct link now.
Yeah, the link is now correct. But Tori is camping with her family this weekend.
Oh yes,
We both joined a very spontaneous stream on Andrew Wizard's channel yesterday, and she joined from the forest where she was camping, which was cool.
Exciting.
Yeah.
I don't trust the microphone on my camera.
Ida, you'll have to buy one of your own. I've only got one, and I want to keep her. Sorry.
Or rescue one.
Yeah, actually, that's much better.
They do here in New Zealand is if you go to the SPCA and adopt a cat, part of the bonus of adopting a cat through the SPCA is all of their animals are desexed. And if they're too young to be desexed, you get a voucher. So you don't actually have to pay for that.
Desexed and wormed and inoculations and everything. Yeah. I kind of gave myself a loophole this time because I have had in my entire life, other than Fitz, I've had 4 cats, I think.
Only 4.
And every one of them has been adopted from the SPCA.
Nice.
So this time I was like, I actually contacted the animal shelter organization in Germany. And I was like, I want a Maine Coon. And they were like,
good luck with that.
Yeah, who doesn't want a Maine Coon? You're joking, right?
We don't get those here.
I'll just
make inquiries.
Tori, good to see you. You're back from the wilderness.
I am back from the wilderness. I'm back in my home.
Yay.
Camping is lovely, but it's also lovely to come back home.
Thornell, you're mixing up your worlds. Fitz is from the realm of the Elderlings.
Yes.
Definitely not Middle Earth. I could have named my cat Bilbo or something, but no, Fitz is
But Carlos
definitely
already
from
has Bilbo.
the Six Duchies. Yeah, exactly. Carlos and Yolanda have Bilbo, so I didn't want to copy them.
No.
Yeah.
Because we totally know the names of everybody's pets on BookTube.
Yes,
I was thinking
exactly.
about it the other day.
How's Pippin?
He's good. Yeah, I don't know where he's very happy we're home, and he's been, eating and trying to eat things, and just generally
Sure
cause
everything smells
mischief.
the same.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, no. Thornell always calls Fitz Sauron, because occasionally she looks kind of evil. Yeah, no,
All
I
cats
missed
have
that.
that ability.
Congratulations, Joan. Joan got it. Yeah, I'm a bit slow.
I have
What
to
can I
admit,
say?
though, the last week it was raining here, and the cat has got really good at anime eyes. When he's soaking wet, looking at me from outside, and you get the really big eyes, and you're like, oh.
Cats also have the ability to, they have the most amazing "I'm disappointed in you" face.
Oh my god!
Ever.
Oh my god!
They
Fitz,
can make you feel so judged.
Yes.
I'm just now getting over being away 2 weeks ago. I was away for a week, and I had a cat sitter. And understandably, she didn't want to come to my flat at 10 in the evening to feed Fitz.
Yeah.
I think. I told her to, but she probably was coming more like 8 or something. And I come home and Fitz loses her shit at 8. Every night, starts yelling at me, extremely disappointed looks, all of that stuff.
Yes.
And it's only just now fading that she won't totally freak out 2 hours early. Yeah.
He's so handsome.
Cutie.
He's like, Mom, put me down.
Yeah. Why are you holding me up in front of the computer?
Bewildered because Moss likes to sit here, and he's managed to avoid coming past the front of the laptop.
Well, Pippin is also only 3, so he's not
calming down.
He's not a lap cat quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've still too much going on still.
Yes.
Yeah.
Too busy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Fitz is very much a lap cat, but only under very specific conditions. Like Fitz does not like to be picked up ever in any way. She'll tolerate it, but obviously she doesn't like it. But if I'm sitting, it's a certain time of day and I'm sitting a certain way, she will come and sit on my lap of her own accord.
Nice.
But it's very much when she wants to and when the moons are aligned. Yeah.
Yes. It's one thing I get quite sad with is Mott doesn't sit on anybody. He's never been, I'm going to sit on you or with you, cat. But he has become someone who loves to be held. So because you learn your animal's language.
Yeah.
And I now know when he wants to be picked up. And so I'll pick him up and his purrs go from just that sort of just audible to actually I'm like, oh, okay, you like this. Okay, that's good. And then he's like, okay, yeah, I'm fine. You don't need to go anywhere. I'm fine. Put him down and he just was like, no.
Cat voices are so weird. I thought for a while that Fitz didn't purr at all, ever.
It just takes them a while to be comfortable. And then they're like, oh, no, I can let loose now.
Still, you can't hear Fitz purr.
Oh, really?
If I want to know if Fitz is purring, I put my hand under her.
My older cat's the same way. You can't hear her at all. Pippin, you can hear across the room.
Right.
Novia is very quiet. You have to just gently feel under her chin to see if she's purring.
Yeah.
But
Fitz also just it's a Maine Coon thing. It's a typical Maine Coon thing. She has the weirdest voice. Well, no, but they don't meow very much. No. She definitely has a voice, but she doesn't meow that much. She has, they call them chirps and trills.
Oh yes, yeah.
Like she'll make, and it's a huge range of personality in these noises she makes. But she'll be like, brr, 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 brr. And when she jumps up on things, when she jumps up on things, she always kind of grunts. She's like,
she's a big girl. It takes
yeah.
a bit of effort.
Yeah.
And she's
yeah.
like some of us getting a bit older. You know, I
My
can't
older
say
cat.
I don't make noise when I move.
My older cat does a lot of the chirping and trilling and stuff. She's bigger also. Pippin is very vocal, but Novia does a lot of the chirp. She does this thing. It cracks me up. So usually at about midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, Novia decides that it is time for her to go on the hunt. And so she will go up and down the hallway of our house and she will find one of their toy mice or squirrels or whatever. Right. And then she will howl with it in her mouth. And the only way that this stops, and I kid you not, you guys, usually I'm the only person awake at that time of the night. And usually the only thing that stops it, the hunt, is me going out there and you're just, wow, what amazing, good
you
job.
Have to praise them.
Like,
you have to.
And then she's happy and then she goes to
so
sleep.
fierce.
Yeah. She wants the recognition and she wants me to recognize that she's done this amazing thing, and then she will go to bed.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I don't have your cat.
Rare, funny 5 minutes hooning around the room. I'm just like, this is a rare thing.
What are you two reading?
I'm still re-listening to Dungeon Carl. I'm having so much fun with these books.
That's awesome.
Ridiculous.
Cool. I am reading. I'm almost done with Of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill.
No,
I'm
Condell. No, not Condell. Cahill. Yeah.
I have a suspicion.
Big indrawn breath and
So I have a suspicion that I'm going to be in the minority with this one, which is fine. That's not the first time, but it's very much, you can tell there was a lot of inspiration from Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings, that kind of stuff, which is fine. But it is like classic stock Chosen One Dragon Rider fantasy.
Okay.
Which again is fine, not my personal cup of tea, and especially with a Chosen One trope, that's a really tough sell for me. So yeah, like I can understand why it's as popular as it is. It's just not my cup of tea.
Probably also inspired by this.
Probably.
This is the
very, very likely.
third book, of Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, and it's kind of a chosen one. I think there isn't a whole lot of like, oh, there's a prophecy about you and that kind of stuff. The main character is actually a nobody idiot kind of at the beginning, and a whole bunch of pretty interesting stuff happens to him, and I'm getting the feeling that it's going to turn out later that he will be recognized as, oh yeah, you're the guy from the prophecy.
You're the guy.
Yeah. But he's such a nobody that, like, why would anyone think that, but maybe not.
The thing with tropes is you have to really know them to be able to play with them.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I'm really getting, I've never read Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn before. Like it's a weird gap in my fantasy reading. And it's so perfectly sits in between Lord of the Rings and A Song of Ice and Fire. Right? Like George has said many times that he was greatly inspired by Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn.
Yeah.
And everybody was inspired by Tolkien. So like it's right there in the middle. It's like not doing what Tolkien did, and it's not quite
away, but
it's not quite doing what Martin did either. But you can see where Martin took things from Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, and you can see where Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn was inspired by Lord of the Rings as well. So it's like right in between, it's sort of a prototype for Song of Ice and Fire in a way. Yeah. It's still got main characters, but it's also jumping around. There are lots of different POV characters, and there's political stuff going on and all the things that Lord of the Rings didn't really have. But yeah. It's interesting. Alicia says Dragonbone Chair, the first book, is definitely going to be in her top 10 for the year.
Nice.
Yeah. I rocked through Dragonbone Chair. I slowed right down on the second book. And I think that was largely just me, my headspace, my mood. But I finished it yesterday, I think.
Nice.
And I've been, I'm probably only about 10% in on the first 2 Green Angel Tower, which is a clumsy title. But yeah, it's darker and more morally ambiguous than Lord of the Rings, but not to the extent of Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, exactly. There's the grittiness and sort of dark violence and stuff is starting to show up. It's definitely not like good is good and evil is evil, although the main bad guy is pretty much just evil.
I'm excited to try that series.
It's good. It's definitely good. I mean, it's like anyone who likes Robin Hobb won't have a problem with it, but it's slow in places.
Yeah, sure. For me, Ted Williams is the I'm going to give a Lord of the Rings style story more than tropes. I'm going to give characters backstory. I'm going to give them personality. They're not just going to be the hero and the sidekick. They're actually going to be, this is who I am. This is how I feel about things. This is my motivations. And at the same time doing the beautiful storytelling and the really rich world. And so
his prose is
to some degree. You can just sort of settle in with a cup of tea and you're like, nice. Yeah. So I didn't cry so much with Ted.
No.
Because it's closer to that side than the emotional side.
He doesn't get as deeply into very realistic feeling emotions like Hobb does. And very few fantasy authors do. It's a pretty rare thing. That's a good question.
Who's been
watching Rings of Power?
I tried watching season 1 and I wanted so badly for it to be good. And it was beautiful. Like visually, it was stunning. But why did they spend so much money on it when the rights that they managed to get gave them nothing to work with?
Yeah.
My issue with it, like,
this is great, but you've got nothing.
The CGI backdrops were really beautiful that they made, and I thought that part was really beautiful. I was so incredibly disappointed with the set design and the costume design of that show. If taking the story itself out of it and what they did, we're not talking about what they did to Galadriel, but like
it looked like a CW set.
It looked like it was like a kind of stage play. Especially the not hobbits stuff was incredibly
that
like
whole section of the story.
Hobby Lobby craft store kind of like. I was like, okay, but one of the things I loved so much about, and they're two different things, but one of the things that I really enjoyed about the original trilogy was the costume design and the armor design, especially in the weapons and everything was so detailed and so intricate and interesting, and the weapon and armor designs, like,
they are literally not allowed to draw from that original movie trilogy. They're literally not allowed to.
They're not allowed to draw from the movie trilogy, and they're not allowed to draw from the Silmarillion.
That's right. So why would anybody in any sane position of in control of the money go, yes, let's spend that much money on, we're allowed to use these few lines from these appendices to build a show around. Are you crazy? What the hell? This isn't like a lore nobody's heard of. It's the backbone of modern fantasy. Even people who don't know fantasy know what Lord of the Rings is. And
I was also like, I used to work in CGI. So I look at CGI a little differently. I thought a lot of the stuff they did was beautiful, but it was like so oversaturated and so it felt like a cartoon at some point, like the whole world felt kind of like a cartoon to me because it was like, nothing's real. None of this is real. You're not even blending it with something real. You're just
like
the whole landscape.
And I mean, even if like, okay, taking aside, you can't be in like take anything from whatever. there are some really basic things, like I'm a horse person, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Like, if you want to make a battle realistic and you're using horses, that's not how you do that. Because like all of the, even in the original, like, Legolas swinging up onto the back, it's yes, okay, I buy that based on the character.
They're
and
trying to tell you how strong he is. He can fight the laws of physics.
But like,
okay, there's a reason.
This is not the time for circus acrobatics.
No.
And even if it was, I don't even know that that's what that was. I'm like, it just, yeah, that one made me.
Well, I think
like
the thing that annoyed me,
that it's fan fiction, and
yeah,
that's a great thing. Yeah, you enjoy it, but it's not well done fan fiction. Like, give me some really good storytelling. Give me.
Yeah.
Try not.
There've been some fan-made
Use
stuff.
People who
better.
aren't in the big stories. Give us new characters that just don't contradict the lore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would watch the hell out of that.
It's interesting. I will, as a Lord of the Rings many times reader and slight lore nerd, I will contradict you, Tori. I thought actually that I didn't like Galadriel in the show in the first season, but Galadriel was not always Cate Blanchett.
No,
right?
no, she wasn't.
She wasn't.
Even
she wasn't
wasn't
always
clear what
That's
she was
okay.
going to be.
Well, in the Silmarillion, she is unwise. She does some kind of crazy shit because she's young and she learns. I did not like. I'm not defending the portrayal of Galadriel in season 1, but the idea, at least, of making her kind of headstrong and proud and reckless.
It's true to the It's true to
it
the
fits. It fits quite well, at this period in history anyway. But oh man, it was. I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. Like, a lot of things looked good, and then suddenly, like you said, you'd be in a scene where it looked like. How could you guys have run out of budget?
Right?
How can that be possible?
Yeah.
And they needed to fire their writers too. I'm sorry.
And the writing,
is very much the proof, though. Throwing money at something doesn't always make it better.
No,
because the problems haven't been. I don't know if they just haven't figured out exactly what the problem is, because those things aren't being fixed, and it makes me kind of sad because all of the potential for an amazing show is there, and you're just like, oh my god, so many amazing shows would kill for this budget.
And there were
and
also
they don't
bits.
Get it.
There were bits where I briefly had a feeling of what it could be. Some of the relationship stuff between the dwarf, I forget his name, and Elrond.
Yes, I love that.
Some of that, and the dwarf and his wife, I forget both their names. Some of those bits, I was like, this is actually good.
Yeah.
Whoever wrote this should have written everything.
Yep.
Yes.
I agree. And that was something I wanted more from, what has already come out was I want to delve deeper, no pun intended, into the dwarf society and like all that. So
we get so little of it.
I know. So I loved that they were pulling that out and showing a dwarven family. Like, that was so interesting and cool. Yeah.
And there's clearly so much potential in those storylines because they are a very political race. There's a lot of branches of family, and there's a lot of who's in greater standing. There's just so much potential there.
I mean,
the thing that annoyed me the most out of many annoying things was the whole mystery box thing around Sauron and Gandalf.
Yeah, you just get tired of it. You're just like, I don't care anymore. The first time
I saw the guy come out of the meteor, I was like, of course it's fucking Gandalf. Who else is it going to be? I mean,
why would you waste this much plot time on someone else?
It should be the Blue Wizards. Like, for people who don't know the lore,
wise, yes.
The blue wizards were 2 wizards that were sent down with Gandalf or around the same time, and one of them went bad and started an evil magic cult, and the other one battled him and stopped him. Yeah. And they just kind of disappear, like they're not really in anything except mentioned in the Silmarillion. But it's like, can we just not do the who is this guy game with this guy? He's wearing gray. He's the only wizard who's good that everyone knows from the movies. I don't for a minute believe that you're going to play with this and it's going to be someone other than Gandalf.
No,
right?
there's
I
no
mean,
point.
who could it be? And the whole thing with Sauron as well, it's like, I don't really want to guess who the big evil is. This is
a lore that people
poor.
know.
Mhm.
People know the bad guy is Sauron. Just go, it's Sauron. Let's have his backstory.
Right.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a mystery.
No. And I don't know.
In other news, though, I am exceptionally excited for Arcane season 2 in November. I can't handle it. I'm so excited.
Arcane
So
was
excited.
awesome. First season was really rocked.
Brilliant piece of television.
I haven't seen it.
Derek,
You should.
you need to watch it. It's excellent.
Okay.
It's so good.
It's really good.
It's one of those things that's like
It's-
every time it's mentioned, I think, oh, I should watch that. And then I completely forget. And I'll be signed into whatever streaming service I'm on. And I'll be like, oh, I don't know what to watch. And then
Someday-
something will happen a week later and I'll go, you seen Arcane?
When I heard about it, it's an animated show based on a video game.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah.
Right.
I'm so uninterested in that. And then I just kept hearing about it over and over and over again. People I trust going, oh my God, this is like one of the best things in a long time.
Yeah.
And I watched it and I was like, yep, I'm going to watch that again. Yeah.
I'm
really
hoping when I get the chance to go to a fantasy convention in the next year or two here, I want to cosplay as Vi.
With
That'd be
the
really fun.
really big
Heck
gauntlet,
yeah.
of course. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Go full brawler Vi. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's oh my God. The sea is always right. It's a line from season 1 of Rings of Power.
Yeah.
We're not going to
Just
talk about
It
the-
doesn't
we're
even
not-
make
that-
sense.
that
What the
whole-
fuck are you talking about?
that
There's
whole
no.
Nope.
It's
I
so
love that
bad.
all three of us are sitting here just going, no.
I love when she jumps and you're just like, you. So
Really?
okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. When season 1 came out, I watched 1 or 2 episodes, and AP invited me on his channel to talk with him about my
I
reaction.
love how open-minded AP is about adaptations. I really
was-
do. hard
It
to
was
be
really
negative.
it shifted my head. It really shifted
Mm-hmm.
my head talking with him about it, because I was like, this is bad and this is bad because and of course he had like perfectly good arguments why I was maybe looking at it the wrong way. And then he and Philip were doing their like back and forth with the episode, and they did one for season 2, episode 1. And I watched it
just
yesterday.
recently,
Yeah, I watched it yesterday. And their main point is not that nothing in the show is bad, but their main point is that what the show is doing well is mythological storytelling,
Yes.
right? Not logical storytelling, but mythological storytelling, right?
And they are.
Like
But
Galadriel
you don't
swimming
need
from
to
the
have
ship
the Lord of
makes
the
no
Rings
sense. But in mythology,
more-
totally fine.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
Mhm.
Lots and lots of things that don't make any kind of sense in the show make sense in a mythological way,
They do. But you don't need it to be within the framework of Middle Earth. It doesn't. If you're going to do mythological storytelling, pick a myth that you're allowed to expand on. Pick a myth that doesn't have copyright and rights issues. Pick a myth that you can go full in on, not one that where you're limited by we can't say this and we mustn't address that and we can't even,
pick a myth that is actually mythology.
I would love to
something
see
doable.
more storytelling surrounding. I know we're starting to get more of it, but it would be really interesting to see more mythology from like the eastern side of the world, because
Oh
there's
my God,
so
yes.
much there.
Oh.
There's so much there.
Yeah.
And like it, yeah. there's a lot of untapped potential there.
I'm tangenting quite wildly briefly here, but that's actually one of the reasons I love the Supernatural TV show. Some of their monsters of the week come from really unusual places. And so things like, I can't think of the name of it now, but there were monsters in The Witcher season 1. Everyone's going, what the hell are these monsters? And I'm thinking, I know that. I know that from Supernatural.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a wealth of mythology out there. And it's, it's so very Western in television. It's
Also says she's in the mood for a Babylon 5 rewatch. I'll top that. I've been in the mood for a Blake 7 rewatch. Which, like, I don't know if anyone even knows. Like, Blake 7 started airing in 1979.
Yeah.
Talk about cheap budget, cheap sets, cheap costumes, cheap everything. But the storytelling was so good. The characters were excellent. It was really twisty, and it was really, really well done.
But that's proof, isn't it, that it doesn't come down to budget. If your writers are good, if you're telling a good story, if the characters are strong, it doesn't matter. Your audience will go with you.
I always use Firefly as an example of that too, because they had like a garbage budget, and it is my second favorite TV show of all time. I love it.
And also, I would say it's one of the best sci-fi TV shows for production design. Even though there's no budget, production design in Firefly is amazing. Like the inside of the ship.
Yeah.
Just
so good.
Feels like the inside of a freighter.
Yeah.
It feels like a dirty old freighter. And
but that they live in. You can see it in the things Kaylee's done all over the place, where she's bored one day and she's going to paint up the side of the kitchen. And it's like, oh, they're so gorgeous. And they never pointed out. They never focused on it.
It's just a background detail.
It's just a background detail.
Yeah. Or them eating with chopsticks, and there's so many little details in there that are amazing world building. And
flesh. Oh, so
yeah. Tori has not read the Firefly novels, if I remember right.
I have one.
Okay.
I really liked the first one. I've listened to it on Audible, and I've got the second one on audio to listen to.
I am planning on budding reading this with Andrew Wizard at some point, and then we're going to do a discussion about it wearing floral bonnets.
Nice, because Josh has read right up to, I think, the 6th or 7th, and he's saying that that depending on which author has done them.
That's what I've heard too.
Depends how good it is, but the latest one is one of the strongest, and I'm like, ooh.
He's totally said. In general, he said they're brain candy. They're not great. They're not beautifully written, but they're Firefly, so I don't care.
Right. It's just, if you're a fan of the show, it's just more of it.
That's right.
I am in October. In October, I am starting running a role-playing game. The system is called Scum and Villainy, which is obviously not a Firefly quote.
No.
But it's not a specifically Star Wars game. That was just a reference to something that they could use that was copyright free. But it's basically everybody plays the crew of a ship who are scoundrels of some sort. Bounty hunters, smugglers, whatever. So it's basically like Firefly, some Star Wars, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's inspired by all of these different things. So I've been soaking up Motley Space Crew stuff lately. I've been watching Farscape recently.
Well, there you go.
Farscape.
There was a point in storytelling that went, let's do found families on spaceships.
Yeah.
Let's do that. And some of them were mysteries and some of them were dramas, and all of them were fabulous.
Can we do more of that?
Yeah, that would be great.
Please?
I would love to see. I mean, I'm sure it's tied up in all sorts of legal rat's nests, but I would love to see someone capable say, you know what was really good? Firefly was really good. And it's already got a pre-installed fan base. Should we maybe do Firefly? But
it'd be so difficult, though. I mean,
there,
how would you do it?
there'd
The
be a
cast have all moved on.
remarkably good chance they do it.
You'd
better.
have to do a
Yeah.
complete either
It would have to be a new crew in the same universe,
in a
where you
different
either
right.
bring Christine
Yeah.
Hendricks back as Saffron and have
Yeah.
her interact occasionally with Mark Sheppard as Badger, as that's our connection to the first series, and we're going to do a spin-off. But
Yeah. What do you guys think of the film?
I'm grateful we got it.
Yeah.
Because without it, we didn't get an end to any of the plot threads.
Yeah.
And I thought overall
I
it
would
was
have preferred
good.
5 more
Not
seasons.
as good as the show, but I thought it was good. You know.
I love the film. I think.
Well, I was talking to Darko the other day, and I was saying when you rewatch the show, you can see the world building from episode 1. I mean, the Blue Sun logo is everywhere. He knew real early
where
that was going to go. Yeah. And over the years and panels and interviews and whatever, you've had a lot of that filled in. Like, these were the plans. This was where it was going.
Yeah.
And to have had to lose all of that with the story that we got in Serenity is sad. Because I'm like, it could have just been so many more layers of intricacy and detail and to have had to go in with really wide brushstrokes and go, this is how it would have ended.
Yeah. I mean, considering it was a film and not a season, I think the amount of ends they were able to tie up was amazing. I have many spoiler comments about it. But yeah, I also think, like, what we all really wanted that we would have never gotten if they hadn't made is we all want to see River just go off, you know?
Oh, hell yes.
And I was like, let's go.
Yeah. And so to only ever get that one fight scene with her.
So I think considering, really, I mean, considering my experience with other shows, other series and stuff with endings like that, I'm incredibly impressed with what they were able to do with it.
Yeah.
So
it really, I mean, by all rights, by all laws of nature, it should be a bad film.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it should be a really bad film. Yeah. But it's not. And considering that, it's actually awesome, you know?
Yeah. I have to know who everybody's favorite character is.
Depends what day it is.
That's fair.
Today, right now, Zoe.
Oh, Zoe's so awesome.
Who doesn't want to be Zoe when they grow up? I mean,
I want to be Zoe when I grow up.
Seriously, right? For a long time when I went online to play games, that was my handle. I was Zoe.
Nice.
Always, because she's the most awesome thing ever.
I love Wash, but you don't get much Wash.
No, you don't.
You know, like there isn't a whole lot of depth to the character. It's not fully developed, so to speak.
But again, that's one of those things where you're like, that could have been developed in those later seasons, and you knew it was going to be.
Of course.
Because that's the nature of Joss's writing. Mm-hmm. And what you got told you he had history. That for him to get the reputation that we are told he has, he's got some stories.
Yeah. I'm sure he's been around a bit.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
I'm always saddened by not getting future episodes with the guest stars. Like, I want to see more headbutting with Niska, and I want to see more run-ins with Yosef Bridge, and I want to see more of all of those people that they bumped into occasionally.
Yeah.
Either causing the sheriff on the train job planet.
Yeah.
Who was like, okay, I'll let it go. That could have developed into something really awesome. And
Colton has a theory which I think is unnecessarily complicated. Whedon pissed off some people,
but not necessarily
had connections
wrong,
high up in Hollywood.
Given what we've since learned. He could very well have offended, made an inappropriate suggestion.
First of all, when it first aired,
exec at Fox.
When it was on television and it first aired, it was in what is in the industry known as the cemetery slot. Yeah. It's Friday night. Slot. Yeah. And so nobody watched it. If you did happen to watch it,
inconsistent,
it was
out of
shown
order.
Completely out of order. Like the pilot wasn't shown first.
Like, some weeks it wasn't on at all.
Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe the reason that happened is because Whedon was a dick. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, talking to Darko the other
allegedly.
day, it makes me
Allegedly.
really sad that he's been cancelled
Yeah.
for being an asshole, ultimately.
Yeah.
None of the allegations have been about anything truly heinous, as we've seen with quite a lot of the other people who have been cancelled. Joss is just an asshole, and there's a lot of those in the entertainment industry.
It would be nice if everyone wasn't an asshole, but like that would cut out pretty much half
It's a
of
tall
everything.
order.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So it makes me sad. But anyway.
Yeah.
And again, who doesn't love Kaylee? Who in the pilot episode isn't heartbroken when she's shot? You've had half an hour with her, if that, and you're like, oh.
You can't kill Kaylee.
Kaylee's
Please,
amazing.
stop.
I want to keep her
Kaylee's
in my
awesome.
pocket.
Yeah.
Wash is my favorite character, though.
He is so great.
Hands down.
And I mean, who else? Alan Tudyk is a genius, because who else could have pulled off
One of
that
my
intro?
favorite actors ever. I love Alan Tudyk. He's hilarious.
amazing.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
He also plays one of
He's
my
so
favorite Disney
humble.
characters.
The chicken, or
Hey, the chicken. Yep. Yep.
he's so humble because he talks
when-
about that going.
Whenever
studied at
people
Juilliard.
ask me, like, oh, what, when I was, jokingly, what Disney princess would you like, whatever. And I was like, well, depending on the day, I'm either Hey or Stitch.
Nice. Very nice. Although talking Disney owned things, I liked the robot he played in Rogue One. I really liked his robot.
Yes.
I think actually my favorite character would be Mal, which is pretty basic, but
Mal's
That's
awesome.
so awesome.
he's like of everybody on the ship, he is the most conflicted.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah! And you get
You
that
know,
so
like
early.
he's like being such a badass kind of asshole, but he's actually
But
quite
you've seen the
compassionate.
loss of faith.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things you get given about any of the characters is this man of faith not wanting a preacher to pray because that doesn't belong here. And so that the very first piece of internal conflict of anybody is Mal, and it's not something little. It's a foundational piece of a person.
Yeah, and all of the war background,
Yeah,
and how that made him who he is, and the whole. I mean, it's really cliche, but the whole thing with him and Inara, is just gorgeously done. You know, it's like I said, it's very cliche, but it works really well in Firefly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Because YouTube knows I like Firefly, and so it shows me when people are reacting to Firefly. And I've just watched a new reactor going, "Oh my god, this is so cliche and by the book, and a will they, won't they?" And I am here for this one,
right? It's because Firefly took all of the tropes and just did them so exceptionally
really
well. Like for me, it's the kind of show that just checks a gazillion boxes of things that I love. You have Motley Crue, Found Family. You have
check the list here.
Zoe and Mal as a platonic relationship
makes
me so happy. And also, Wash and Zoe are one of my favorite
of the husband.
My favorite episode. My favorite episode is the one where Wash and Mal.
I talked war stories.
Yes.
Go off by
That's
themselves.
so important because
I love it so much.
Is going to feel jealous.
But what else I love about it
intimate.
Is like Wash and Zoe are one of my favorite married couples in television ever because for the first time when I was watching Firefly, I looked over at my husband, Ben, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can see a married couple that we relate to in television because of the two of us. Ben is the gardener. He's very gentle spirited. He doesn't have a mean thing to say about anybody. He's goofy and whatever. And I'm not.
You have an axe and a pistol on your shelf.
I'm a barbarian. Exactly. And but they don't she doesn't trample all over him. He doesn't try to bury her. They have this incredibly healthy relationship and it's beautiful and I love it so much.
I just love that you saw that insecurity in war stories within Wash because Zoe and Mal do have that
so much
intimacy.
Sense. Yep.
Well, because it is an intimate relationship.
And it's something that Wash can never
he can't
participate in, you know?
Yeah. Right. And so that jealousy, that feeling of I'm not enough.
Right.
Makes complete sense. Until he's in a situation where he sees who Mal is in a different role. And he's
And-
like, oh, I get it now. I
when
get
they ask,
now why
who
you
do you
trust
want?
him.
And they think it's going to take Zoe like time to fit.
That.
Not
And
even
she's
a
like, oh,
minute.
did you want me to choose?
I love it. I love it so much. It's such a good episode.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm done now.
But she's amazing and he's amazing
She's
and
so
the whole
good.
show is amazing. And
Yeah.
I have to chase Evie because she's only halfway into the pilot episode and
I will bother her for you also, Terry.
we all bother her. All of us. Like
Actually, you know
everybody
what?
can-
You know,
Yes,
one of
all
the
of us.
things I
love her.
loved the most about Mal was when I was growing up. Like I'm old enough. I went to see Star Wars in cinema, the
Mhm.
first movie when it came out. I was 9 years old, and I wanted to be Han Solo,
Oh, sure.
Oh,
like, hands down.
Of course.
Firefly.
Don't we all?
Well, the thing is, Firefly took Han Solo and gave him an actual story.
yeah.
Story,
Yeah.
You know,
They gave him
like a
personality
background
and-
and some conflicts, and
Yep.
he's not just a smuggler who cares
not
for
just
no
a
one on the surface,
charming
but
rogue.
he's actually basically a nice guy, and that's it. Like Han Solo is very two-dimensional. He's great,
Yeah.
but he's very two-dimensional.
Yeah.
And Mal is a three-dimensional Han Solo,
Mhm.
and
Very
also
much so.
like three-dimensional in all directions. Like the bit where he just like the Fed is holding Simon captive
Yep.
or hostage, and Mal
Yeah, he
just
doesn't
walks
have time
in and
for this
just
shit.
he doesn't even think about it. He shoots the
No.
guy.
Yep.
He's like, you've shot one of my crew
That's
already,
hardcore.
and now you're holding a defenseless child hostage, and I don't have time for this shit because we
Simon.
have to escape right now.
Yeah,
You know, and just
like Han Solo
Oh.
is too nice. I mean, it's you know, Lucas, so it's all like all of the sharp edges have been filed off. Han Solo is way too nice. He wouldn't do something like that. Yeah,
No, he wouldn't.
it would be too dark for Han Solo. But Mal doesn't even think about it
walk
twice.
up to someone and shoot someone in the head. No,
And then how perfect is it that they don't even talk? Him and Jane,
Jane
just
just
pick the
pick him
guy
up.
up and throw him out.
and something I noticed a lot, and it
It's
gets
so
me every
perfect.
time, is they are literally in step with each other as they carry him out. You know, they're so in tune with the moment
Yeah.
that they're literally in step with each other.
Yeah.
Love it so much.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you get the moral complexity, but I think it's made very clear in the train job again with the sheriff, where the sheriff says, you know, a man learns the facts of a job, and he has a choice to make. And Mal's response is, I don't believe he does.
Mhm.
And that's what tells you that he it's not even a choice for him
Mhm.
to bring back medicine for a community that he
Yep.
didn't know he was stealing. I mean,
Yeah. It's
So
so
good.
good.
it's
The writing is
amazing.
excellent.
I mean, luckily it's still around, so we can rewatch it a billion times. But
I know.
it's so like when I was watching it this time, and I think I watched it last month. I think I didn't get them in the right order. The last episode is
Objects in space.
Objects. Okay, so that is the
Mhm.
last episode. In that one, I was like, I want this early guy to be in all of the episodes from now on.
He's so
He's
fascinating.
so weird,
Oh,
but he's fascinating. You know, he's
He
totally
hits the
fascinating.
like,
I
he's like-
want him. Yeah, I mean, he's like a philosophical psycho killer. You know, he's totally a psychopath, but he's also like
completely.
so thoughtful and weird all the time.
Yeah.
And he's great.
Does it? What is it? The room? Does the room have meaning when she's not there? And you're like, okay, that's actually quite profound.
I want this guy to be having conversations with everyone all the time.
All the rooms. Yeah, very strange man.
Yeah,
But yeah,
very, very cool. And then it just ends.
yeah, it just stops, and we don't get
How
any
can-
more. And we've. Oh,
Yeah.
one of the other of my favorite moments is a wordless conversation that Inara and Mal have over the body of Nandi. She's just been shot, and Inara's standing over her. Mal rushes back, and she just looks at him, and she's
Yes.
like, "You go and get that bastard." And
Yep.
he's like, I'm on my way. And she's like,
Yeah.
good. And
Yeah.
nothing is said. It's just
Yeah.
in the eye contact where
Yep.
she's just like, I can't go and fight this guy. That's not in my skill set. You have to do it for me. And you are doing it for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's so clear, all of it. And that comes down to the actors.
Well,
who
that's
knew
like
their
the
characters
wordless
so well.
conversation before that between Nandi and Inara,
Yeah.
where Inara walks into the room and Nandi immediately knows.
Yeah.
Oh,
And she's like, you didn't tell me.
yeah. It's so, like
And-
real actual acting. Who knew?
Yeah. And
I mean, you also have to write that to start with.
you do have
Right.
to
Like
write it.
deciding
You
as a
have the base
writer
work with.
to write
Yeah.
a scene with no words in it.
And trust that
is-
your actors can
yeah.
pull that off.
Yeah.
And they did. And what's the opening scene? It opens mid-battle.
Yeah, I
with
was going to
Mel.
say it's Mal and Zoe in the.
It's
Yeah.
the war. Yeah.
Mid-battle.
It's
And
in
he's
the
telling
Alliance War.
Bendis, we're not going to die.
Mhm.
God's not going to let us die because we
Such a
are
good
so
opener.
very
Pulls
pretty.
his cross out and kisses it, I
Yeah.
think. And yeah.
So very pretty. Just look at that chiseled jaw.
Yeah, exactly. We're too pretty. Yeah.
We're too
There are
pretty.
so
for
many
God to
good
let us
lines.
die.
I mean, it's such a damn quotable show, too.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
can't
God.
help myself.
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah,
So,
So we're all
Farscape.
nerds.
yeah. Surprise, surprise. Who knew?
yeah.
Farscape. Have you seen Farscape, Tori?
Oh, I
The-
haven't
it's a
seen it for a
it's
long time.
it's
but
a
I
really
was much
hard
younger.
sell.
Yeah.
My best friend here is also surprise, big nerd, and he's going to be in my game that I'm running,
Mm.
and I was telling him I'm soaking in all of this. Like I just rewatched Firefly, and I'm pulling in all of this Motley Space Crew stuff, and he was like, my favorite space opera Motley Space Crew show is Farscape, and I was like, what? And he didn't tell me much about it. I went and looked it up, and it's co-produced by Jim Henson's son.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The original spaceship crew is 4 people, none of whom are human, and 2 of whom are Muppets.
Yeah. That's why
Like,
I say I
literally
remember that
Muppets.
I've seen it because that's
Yeah.
a hard image to forget. But it was a long time ago, and I can't remember.
And
But,
I like when I first looked at it, I was like,
We're like,
this
no.
looks so stupid.
it's like this just
Yeah.
looks silly.
This looks
And-
dumb as hell. And then I started watching it. And the first season is, even fans say, the weakest one.
Yeah.
And you can see that they, like, after the first season was successful, they got budget and, a lot of things improved. But by about the middle of the first season, I was invested in the characters and the ship. The ship is a living creature.
Love that.
The ship that they're on, which gives birth at some point to another ship. And it's so bizarre, but I love it. And one of my favorite characters is a Muppet pilot.
Nice. That's a great
Um,
sentence.
Yeah. One of my favorite characters is a Muppet. It's such a good show. I recommend that people watch it. It's cheesy. It's in 4:3 format,
Yeah.
which is annoying. But if you're watching old shows, that's just
That's kind of how it goes.
yeah. Televisions used to be almost square, but it's really, really cool. Yeah, I don't know, Ron. I didn't watch it 20 years ago. I never watched it until recently. But the writing is good enough. That's the thing. The writing and the acting is good enough.
Yeah.
It's not
Which is
Firefly
how we got
level,
here because
but
we were talking
yeah.
about Rings of Power.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's
it
the
doesn't need a
opposite
budget.
of Rings of
If you get the
Power.
right things right,
Yeah.
a show is going to live on and it's going to have nerds geeking out about it decades after it's finished because
Yeah.
the love for it is there. That
Yeah.
didn't need billions of dollars spent on it and didn't have not excruciating because it is quite stunningly beautiful, but incredibly detailed opening sequences and opening credits. And it was a cheesy song that everybody, the first episode goes, oh my God, really? I've got to listen to this. By the end of it, you know all the words. You're like, no, that opening bar gets you in the mood. And you're like, no, it's a thing.
Just to answer Thornell's question quickly, one of them was Rigel the Dominar. The other one is pilot. So the idea is that the ship is a living being, and
Yes.
it can.
That's such a cool ship.
It can meld basically with members of a certain species who can then function as a pilot. It doesn't let itself be piloted like just a normal ship.
Yeah.
It has to be this certain species, and they basically, it's the greatest honor in their culture to get selected by a ship, and he doesn't have a name. Like they just call him pilot because that's who he is. That's all he does.
Like
and he can't move.
Yeah.
He's always sitting behind this sort of control panel in this weird room. And he's like looks kind of like a turtle with 4 arms kind of thing. And also kind of looks like the Sydney Opera House a little bit. But Pilot is absolutely a Muppet. Yeah, Pilot is a giant Muppet. He's actually bigger than a human. He's quite big. It looks like there's maybe 2 people in that suit. But Pilot, Pilot is.
But that's great storytelling.
See, that's exactly the thing.
You know?
Thornall says Pilot was my favorite character, but I never thought of him as a Muppet. Yeah, exactly.
Because the
but
character
he is.
Takes you beyond what it
he
looks
was
like.
created by Brian Henson, Jim Henson's son. He's totally a Muppet, but he's so cool and sympathetic also that he doesn't feel Muppety. Yeah. Pilot is a sweetheart. Yes. Pilot is kind of the Kaylee of Farscape in a way.
Nice.
Yeah. He's the sort of compassionate, sweet, basically always in a good mood kind of. And there's 5 seasons of it, which kind of surprises me because it was like, it's basically an Australian show. Like there's Australian accents all over the show. When an American accent turns up in the show, it really stands out.
Yeah.
Everybody's Australian. There's a couple of Kiwis. But yeah, such a good show. I'm really enjoying it.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, we as Kiwis, we've got a fairly solid history in the 70s and 80s of filming pretty good fantasy and sci-fi shows here. I thought it was really funny. I caught something. Oh, what were they watching? I don't know. I walked past the family in the lounge and they were just flicking through stuff, and there was a little bit of documentary on Carl Urban, and it was showing a moment from Xena Warrior Princess. And I'm thinking, for a show that was a spin-off of Hercules that also ran for so many seasons, that was a lot of seasons of those 2 shows. Mm-hmm. And almost all of our Kiwi actors who have done well had at least 1 role in those shows. Carl Urban had 2. And so we're okay with fantasy and sci-fi being filmed here. And so our crews are used to it. Our actors are used to it. The suspension of disbelief comes easy.
Colton, I'll ramp that up a little bit for you. There are 3, maybe 4 episodes at the end of season 1 where the story of all 4 of those episodes is primarily driven by the emotional state of the ship.
Nice.
Where they're trying to, Moya is the ship, and they're trying to get conditions in a state where Moya will be more cooperative or whatever. It's really, really cool. It's really, really cool. I'm really enjoying it. Strangely. And I don't see the Muppets as Muppets anymore. They actually, you can see there's like this huge jump between season 1 and season 2. All of the costumes look much better.
Yeah.
The Muppets are actually painted much better. Like the way certain characters, like one of them is Rigel, and Rigel is basically a slug about this big who floats around in a sort of hover chair, and his face suddenly has like tons more detail and different colors and all this sort of stuff.
It's like
Lex.
So many shows though, is getting to that point.
Yeah, exactly.
The ship from Lex is amazing. Like, just where did all these original thinkers come from?
I've never even heard of
so many shows that were so different and so inventive in the ways they were telling these stories, and that's not so much the case now.
There were, I think, maybe more people that, not necessarily more people that were willing to go against the grain of like mainstream storytelling, but also they were like, it's become so heavily commercialized now that I feel like it's a lot harder for those shows and those creators to get spotlights. Because it's the same thing in the book industry too, honestly.
Yeah.
TV,
no, you're right. I forget that
medium.
it's about, it has to be accepted by a big enough range for us to make money.
Yeah.
And so you end up, you have to be less brave to succeed.
I was hoping. I mean, we have. I mean, one of the really good things is thank you to Game of Thrones.
Oh hell yes!
We have a hell of a lot more fantasy TV. Not all of it is particularly groundbreaking or good, but
there's more of it.
It just exists a lot more. It's like feasible for Amazon to say we're going to spend more money on a fantasy TV show than has ever been spent on a season of TV. You know, and that was like unimaginable 20 years ago.
They spent it all on no rights.
You really need to watch Arcane.
Yeah. I will.
Yeah,
I will.
You will love Arcane. Arcane is super awesome.
It's phenomenal.
I've just finished doing a Firefly rewatch, so
nice.
I'm in an appropriate moment to start something new.
People are mentioning all sorts of shows I've never heard of. I've never heard of Lex. I've never heard of Species 8472.
No, that's not true. I have heard
that.
Of that
is a really bad name for a show.
That is, or maybe. I'm sorry. I'm on a mental tangent here. Going, isn't that the alien from a Star Trek Voyager episode?
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what Ida's saying. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a show. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because what the conversation turned into naming of villains. Yes.
Oh, yeah. There is a...
Sorry, I just remembered that it was such a strange thing for them to call it, but it was a Borg. It was a Borg name.
Right.
That's
it came from Thornall, who said Scorpius is always a good villain name. Scorpius is the villain in Farscape, or one of, and I call him Bondage Grandpa. Because he's dressed entirely in black latex.
Ew.
With like black alligator skin shoulder pads and all sorts of stuff. After. And then he's got like a like not a hood, a snood. Like a really tight fitting hood, which has this thing that goes over his face, like strips that come down from the hood.
It's a simp mask.
It totally looks like a bondage outfit, and look who it is.
Hey,
you did, Evie.
Did you hear us saying that you hadn't watched Firefly?
It's George.
It's true. Also, speaking of bondage, I suppose. So I'm gonna.
Okay.
Exactly. I'm disappointed you didn't put on your suit.
Yeah. Hey, it's latex. It takes time. There's a whole process.
No one wants to see that.
I think you might find there's a market.
Darko's here.
Yeah, true.
True.
Dark Matter got cut? Oh.
Yes, it did.
Oh,
hey, Darko.
It was really good. First season I thought was excellent.
Yeah.
Damn. That's very disappointing.
But I think that comes back to what we were saying just now about
they have a money target.
We don't have the range.
And I've discovered that with most TV shows, if it's original and good and has decent writing and dialogue, it will get cut.
Well, yeah, I think because it challenges the viewer too much.
It's too hard.
And,
exactly.
And not everybody wants to put that much thought into a show when they're watching it. They want to just zone out. And, hey, I get it. I watch plenty of brain fluff. I like occasionally getting something that I.
Oh, wait a sec. They're actually talking about Dark Matter that was on Sci-Fi, which I've never heard of. Okay.
Sorry. Then we're both on.
No. I was talking about. Is it also called Dark Matter? The Blake Crouch book.
Oh, yes, it is. That's been picked up to be.
It's been adapted on not to be. The first season's already finished.
Well,
It's
actually, yes,
out
you're right, it
on
has.
Apple TV, and it was really good. And that's what I was worried maybe got cut, but I don't think it did. I think Apple
And
is
I'm
actually
gonna
doing a
push
better
back on that
job
one.
of backing good
Yes.
things than a lot of
Um,
other streaming services.
Westworld was pretty challenging, but by the time season 3 finally rolled around, it was losing story coherence.
Mhm.
It got very blobby after
It didn't
like middle of
need
season
to go.
2.
Perfect.
First season
Yeah,
was
it didn't
awesome.
need extra story.
So
Yeah.
many shows.
2 seasons was enough.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, it's
stopped
like
it.
the first trying to think of where things stop. The first 2 to 4 maybe-ish seasons, not even. 2 to 4, 3-4 seasons of Walking Dead. Yeah, especially like
Yeah.
in the first season, I was like, the dialogue, the character, like it was so good, and then you get to season 5 and onwards, and it's just
Because
Yeah.
at that point we have a massive audience, and now
right.
we've seen it in other shows
Well,
as well.
They
The
lost
audience
a
gets,
giant part
know,
of that massive audience, but yeah,
but it then becomes a money spinner that we've got to
Right.
fit to a formula, and
Right.
it's rather than the thing that people came for, which was not formulaic. And
Yeah.
Yep.
To do something creative, you have to take risks, and risks
What?
are
I
not
mean,
good for
Sense 8 was
projections.
another one that I thought was fantastic.
Which?
Sense 8.
Oh,
was
yeah.
a
Sense 8
short-lived
was
show.
Sense 8 was cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Does anyone like Doctor Who? Yes.
No.
I have Doctor Who on my walls.
We've been
I
nerding
have a
out about
Doctor
science
Who
fiction television
hoodie.
for an hour at least, but we
And,
hate Doctor Who.
yes.
Doctor Who is awful.
No, we
Doctor
could have
Who is the
long,
science fiction of
lively
my
debates
childhood. Yeah.
about favorite doctors, favorite companions.
Doctor Who is the
villains.
science fiction of my childhood. My doctor is Tom Baker.
Mine too.
There's never been a better doctor than Tom Baker. I like a lot of the new stuff. I haven't seen all
I
of
like
it.
a lot of the modern doctors.
Yeah.
I do.
Eccleston is
Um,
mine.
Well,
I
without
liked
him, we wouldn't
Eccleston a
have
lot.
New
I
Who.
like Eccleston a
You
lot.
know,
Yeah.
if he hadn't nailed that first season, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have been renewed, and we wouldn't have
Yeah.
had any of the amazing Who's that we've had since.
Yeah.
So
Although
he
I
gets
will
a
say-
lot of credit for that.
The first episode I ever saw of Doctor Who, I was introduced to it by my English professor in college, which I have to thank him a lot, because a lot of English professors wouldn't even touch sci-fi fantasy stuff, and he was such a massive sci-fi fantasy fan, and he had us watch Blink. As in our intro to fiction class, we watched Blink. It was amazing.
It's so well told.
It's
Because
so
you
good.
get it from those different timelines, and it only kind of comes together so good and scary.
Mhm.
Like, as far as
It was
a
terrifying.
newly introduced villain to the Whoverse, the Weeping Angels.
Oh, the Weeping Angels were
Standing.
Brilliant.
yeah.
Oh,
Stephen
Yeah.
Moffat.
I was freaking out.
The Weeping Angels sit right next to the we were talking about it once, Terry, the guys from Buffy. The gentlemen.
The gentleman, yeah, with the
The gentlemen were super
They were floating.
creepy. And
Oh,
the Weeping Angels were even creepier. Yeah.
yeah,
No,
the Weeping
perfect.
Angels were creepy.
Um
Hi, Britain.
amazing.
Britain.
Hi, Britain. You've come into science fiction television nerdery.
Oh, well, I like Doctor Who.
I tell you what, I loved when they cast Michelle Gomez as the master / mistress / Missy, because I love her as an actress. And there was an episode where they were like, "So, you the master? So you're a woman now?" And she's like, "Why are you so interested in what's in my pants? What's in my pants is doom." I was like, "I love you so much."
And it was also nice to get away. Like the old master is very much a mustache twirler.
Oh yes,
Just
and has been played remarkably
just
well
as soon
by
as you see
various
him,
people.
he's like the original master. As soon as you see him, you're like, oh, you're the bad guy.
Yeah,
And
I
having
really enjoyed
someone
her message. She
else,
was great.
yeah,
The Master is the Doctor if he went evil. That's how I view it.
Yes,
basically,
ultimately.
yeah.
Well, aside from being Time Lord victorious, that would be the Doctor if he went evil.
Well, it's the Doctor if he went mental, because that's what we're told ultimately was the source of the Master. He looked into the time void and was driven crazy. So there was that. But I just loved her as Missy. She was fantastic. And the thing with the reason I think a lot of sci-fi people don't love Doctor Who is it's so British that it leans into, it can be serious and silly. We're allowed to do both.
I love that.
Totally.
Some shows go, okay, today's a silly episode, and the British audience is like, okay, that's fine. And other episodes will be like, we're doing serious and scary, and we're like, okay, we're here for it.
Yeah.
And every now and then they mix them, and for a non-British audience, that's really jarring. The British audience were like, this is it.
It was basically their tension and pacing mechanism.
Yeah.
You'd have 2 or 3 in the old Doctor Who. You'd have 2 or 3 episodes that were like hardcore. The Daleks are going to wipe out everyone, and then once that was solved, you'd have a light, silly episode where they go to a party or something ridiculous.
Yeah, and it would be really silly.
Yeah,
it would have silly jokes, and it would have puns, and it would be laughable.
Have any of you read any of the Doctor Who novels?
I haven't actually.
I haven't either.
I have not.
No.
I know Michael Moorcock did one. I thought that looked pretty cool, but
okay.
You know,
did he manage to work in the Eternal Champion?
Oh yes, I think he puts
sure
Jared Cornelius in there.
Of course he did.
Because in New Who, Neil Gaiman wrote a couple of episodes, and there are a couple of my favorite episodes. Gaiman. Right. I love The Doctor's Wife.
Speaking of Internal Champions, I've been reading the Book of Magic, and the last story that I read was by Levi Tadar, and it's called Widowmaker. And he has his own, like, sword and sorcery eternal champion.
Okay.
Or at least seems to be an eternal champion. But he calls it gunslinger and sorcery. And his name is Goril. And I want to read all of the Goril stories now.
Are there lots?
There's at least one more in the Book of Swords anthology, and apparently there's a novella and a bind-up, a chapbook somewhere, according to Wikipedia. So.
Okay. Of course,
Liam, you know about it.
Of course, it's an obscure sword and sorcery thing. Liam knows.
I was about to say, Blackadder is great. I love that show.
He says the pot-bellied god novella is good.
Yes.
Okay.
Good to know. Yep. It's the first season of Blackadder where they've made him the stupid one and Baldric the clever one is my least favorite of the series. And then Ben Elton was included as a writer from season 2, and that's where they make the switch where he's the clever one. And I love that writing. I love it so much. And Ben Elton had just come off of The Young Ones, which is another old British comedy that's hilarious.
The Young Ones.
Yeah.
I forgot you're from that part of the world. I grew up watching The Young Ones every week.
I love them. And my friend that I live with, she's a big fan of The Young Ones. And so every now and then we'll fall into the voices because they're so easy. And I'll be Rick, and she'll be Vivian. And you know, every now and then someone will be Neil. Neil. And it's just it's so embedded in who we are, those stereotypes from The Young Ones.
The Young Ones, for everybody who didn't grow up in Australia or New Zealand, is
or the UK
or the UK, of course. It's a really goofy show about a group of guys who are housemates.
Yeah, and the students. They're students at uni,
but they're all like cliche stereotypes. One of them is like an over-the-top punk. One of them's an over-the-top kind of hippie. You know, they're all total stereotypes.
One of them's really over-the-top sort of anarchist. He's like, we've got to fight the system, and he wants to be a beat poet, and he wants to be cool, and he's so not cool. I love it, and it's oddly a sketch show also. Because they have little snippets of puppets, like you'll get a scene of 2 puppet mice that live in the kitchen, or just something really random, and then occasionally you'll get a band do a song. Motorhead did Ace of Spades quite famously on an episode, and you're just like, okay.
It's such a bizarre show.
Very
I loved
bizarre
it.
show, but so recognizable for some of the faces that show up. Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French were regular parts of it before they went off to do their own thing, because they were part of the same comedy group at genuine real life university together. And
All right.
So
cool. Pushing Daisies. I don't know Pushing Daisies.
I think I watched the first season of Pushing Daisies.
Pushing Daisies was canceled too soon, dadgummit.
You need to watch Firefly before you have the right to say that about any series.
I might actually just mute you in general because you haven't watched Firefly.
Watch Cowboy Bebop. That's a valid option as well.
I'm just saying,
No,
pace.
Firefly's better.
No, I mean you are right.
Pushing
Pushing Daisies deserves to go longer, but
But
it is
watch
not
Firefly.
the one you get that angry about being cancelled too soon.
Matt, have you seen
Okay.
Cowboy Bebop?
Of course I have.
Oh.
Yeah,
I mean, not all of it, but yeah. I have.
Yeah, I'm not
it's good.
convinced
It's good,
closely
but
related, as
Firefly's
people
better.
seem to think. No. So
Well, Cowboy Bebop is my favorite anime of all time, so I'm gonna have to quibble with that. But
If you're
no, you're allowed to quibble, but it's
if you're
not the same
animating
as
something that was
Firefly.
written to be in a comic book, it's not going to be as good as a thing that was written extremely well to be on television.
That's right, because they are different, and nobody's pretending that they're not, but they just get
I'm not
put together.
I'm not
so
trying to
much,
tell
you're
you
like,
shouldn't
they're
love
not the
Cowboy
same.
Bebop, but Firefly.
oh, I know.
Yeah.
Just I need to watch Firefly though. That is one I've missed.
Just switch
It's
it.
Okay,
really
these last
good.
two people, Matt, they can go.
Yeah,
They have
exactly.
things to be watching.
Kick.
There's a lot.
You should be watching Firefly, all right? It's only 14 episodes.
What are you doing
written.
here?
There's a lot of movies and shows to watch.
Then I
Don't judge me.
guarantee Firefly is better than.
Quite probably.
Guarantee it.
Almost guaranteed. Yeah.
Sorry.
To,
We've been talking about it too much today. It's very, very on the top of my brain.
it's okay.
Isn't it like the Civil War in space? You know.
No.
No, it's a
reading?
Western
guy
in
who
space.
lost the Civil War years later, coping in space.
All right.
In Western space.
So
Yeah,
it's
where he gets to be
reconstruction.
Han
It's
Solo
U.S.
with a
reconstruction
story.
in space. I hear you.
Kind
No,
of.
it's Han Solo with a backstory,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But,
What were you about to say, Evie?
No, I
Sorry.
was just asking. So, what are you guys actually reading? Just
Oh my god, books. You want to talk about books?
Well, let's see. I am reading Hyperion, which
And I'm
is
still
I've
listening
moved
to
on
Dungeon
to the
Crawler
third book of Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. Finally. Took me a long time to get through the second one.
So
Which
you mean
wasn't-
the third book, part one of the third book?
Part one of the third book. Yeah, exactly. The third of four, sort of. I mean, they're always published as 4 books. Even the Broken Binding is doing a special edition, and they had to, and it's luckily coming into the subscription. And they even had to explain to the subscribers, they're like, we really want to do this trilogy, but it's actually 4 books. So you're not
Yeah.
going to get 3 books. So if you skip, you're going to be skipping 4 months. So yeah, anyway. Have you guys seen the covers for, speaking of Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, Broken Binding? Oh my
I've
God.
seen some of the art coming
They
online from it.
They
and oh my
got some
God.
really, really
Oh,
nice covers
so
done for this book.
Beautiful.
Oh my God.
I managed to get off the waiting list for that series. So
They just put out I saw that. They just put out some more tier 2 subscriber invites. Yeah.
My
Yeah,
name
yeah.
just opened
No,
the
I'm
eyes.
super looking forward to those. They look
so
gorgeous.
Hyperion,
It's-
which is,
Hyperion, how are you liking Hyperion?
it's very good. I was reading the Poet story the other day, and I'm like, I see why this kind of bugged Raph a little bit. But the Scholar story though,
Where is Raf
no
today?
greatness. I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I am
Probably metal.
I'm also
Yeah, more than
reading-
likely.
is a
Usually
rare
when he
read.
misses the Sunday pub, it's because metal.
Yeah, there'll be
Um,
some kind of festival or show on.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm rereading The City in the City by China
All
Mieville.
right. Yeah,
A
that's
rare
good.
reread.
That is good. It's a good book.
It's really good. It's like it's a good Mieville book again. Oh, because the last couple I've read were kind of duds.
Yeah.
Um,
I had a Mieville phase where I also just sort of banged through all the Baz Lag books
Baz is in a
and
cave.
got into more, and then I was like, yeah, some of the other stuff I read was better. Okay, Colton is yelling at us. If you like
I'm
Firefly and
also-
Bebop, you have to watch Outlaw Star. I've never even heard of it.
I'm also still getting through Moon Witch Spider King, which is the sequel to Black Leopard Red Wolf. And I am also hoping to start a comic called Luther Strode, which is
Nice.
a trilogy of comics about.
All right.
It's basically Flex Mentalo meets Spider-Man. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Oh, I have to briefly apologize to Thornall. I haven't started BPRD yet. Sorry, man.
No.
Sitting right here on my desk waiting for me to pick it up, but I haven't.
Gary,
haven't
what are
gotten
you
there.
reading?
I'm still listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl again. I'm having such a blast with it. I
Did
really
you give
am.
up on? Did you finish your reread of Baron and the Nightingale or no?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
finished that a few days ago, and I have just bought The Girl in the Tower on Audible. So when I finish this last one of Dungeon Crawler Carl, that's the next one I'll be doing.
Because it's been a year.
I know. Like
we
I
discussed.
know.
I'm just
I
saying.
know. I didn't have to hate. I'm doing it all right.
Evie, may I
I would
remind
have.
you that you have not watched Firefly?
Actually, that's very true. This is very true. So
I rest my case.
yeah.
What are you reading, Tori?
Well, I am almost done with Ryan Cahill's Of Blood and Fire, the first book in his Bound and Broken series.
Oh,
I have
wow.
that much left, so I'll probably finish it in a sprint or two. And then the one that I am super enjoying that I picked up recently is so progression in lit RPG is kind of like meh for me. However, this one is like I've read 2 of those.
Funny.
It's like the characters are the main point of the story as opposed to the progression, which is one of the issues I usually have with both of those subgenres, is that usually it just feels like we have vehicles for the progression and they're called the characters. But it's by Bryce O'Connor and I can't see the second name. Hold on. Luke Chmalenko. I think I probably butchered that. But Iron Prince, Warformed Iron Prince.
Okay.
It's a 1,000-page book. And Andrew Wizard was like, Tori, you need to read this. And I'm like, it's 1,000 pages.
Do I really need to read
Do
this?
I? It reads so fast, like incredibly fast. It's good. I'm enjoying it. It's definitely got some very faint Red Rising vibes. Very faint. And kind of like early, like the early part of
the good trilogy, Red
Yes.
Rising vibes, or the bad.
Yes.
trilogy?
the good
Okay,
trilogy.
just
Yeah,
checking.
yeah.
I when you were
so-
when you were describing it with Wiz yesterday,
It's good.
I was like, that sounds like Ender's Game, the progression.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely fits in that kind of a camp, but I actually
Right.
think that I think the way that they're setting up the world and all of the information we're getting is it's a lot of very like specs kind of stuff, but it's really easily digestible, which I'm impressed by.
Right.
Because that's not something that I find easily digestible usually. Like
No.
with Dungeon Crawler Carl, I ignore all the specs because I'm like, I don't care.
I'm not
Nobody
a
can.
gamer, so they don't really mean
I
much to
am,
me.
and I still don't care.
And that's why I'm like, no. The
Yeah.
people I know who are gamers are going to get even more of the jokes.
Some of them
I
are
mean,
funny. Yeah.
Brian Bell will no doubt contradict me. But when I was reading Dungeon Crawler Carl, I thought I would probably enjoy this if I wasn't a gamer. Because
Okay.
while I was reading it, I kept thinking, why am I not playing a good game? Why am
Oh,
I
really?
reading a description that someone has written about a game that sounds
but
like
I
it
like-
might be okay?
Matt,
No,
do
I
you
love
like
what's going
watching?
on around the game because I've I'm in the 6th book for the 3rd time in less than 2 months. And I literally messaged Brian last night going, I have a theory. This is what's happening.
I know your question, Tori, and the answer is no.
Yeah, and I do. So I think
I
that's the
don't
difference.
like watching other people play games because I just
do.
sit there thinking, that looks fun. Why am I not doing it?
Sometimes I don't have the brain power and I just want to sit and watch somebody play through something.
Strangely,
so-
I do watch actual plays of role-playing games.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
But usually that's because I'm interested. Like this, I'm starting running a new game called Scum and Villainy in
That's right.
October, and it's a new system to me. So I started watching people playing it just to see like how you do the roles and how the rules work and whatever. But I couldn't be more bored watching somebody else play a video game that I am not playing. Like I would rather play it. Like I'll watch like a minute of it. I'm like, oh, it looks like a cool game. I'll get it and play it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. That makes sense. But as I said, I'm not a gamer, so I'm just enjoying the complete romp.
Darko is playing Hogwarts Legacy.
Yay!
Such a beautiful game.
How is that? Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I also played it.
I am playing Far Cry New Dawn right now, and the AI in that game is I hate it. They are stupid.
It's an Ubisoft game, isn't it?
I love it.
I don't know, but
I think it's an Ubisoft game. They're like legendary for fucked up AI.
Like all the I'll be driving around and characters will just go in the middle of the road. I'm like, I don't want to run you over.
Yeah.
I know you're not actual people, but I don't want to run you over. Like, get out of the way.
Vero is worried about Althea and her niece.
I also replayed Watch
I've
Dogs.
literally just commented that's valid.
Yeah. There are many worrying things about Althea.
Yeah. Getting into the last half, or the last third.
Subnautica.
Also, even that's a lot.
That's a game. Oh my
It's
god,
so
that was
good.
so good.
It's so good. My kids, I go out to our main, we hook it up, my computer up to the TV. My kids sit on the couch and I play Subnautica and they're like, Mom, you got to go get the thing. Mom, you got to.
I was just going to say, how are you doing with it? Because I know it's part of your exposure therapy.
It's been really good. I've been playing it very slow. And like, I'm not to the like deep, dark down yet. We're getting there. And as I'm getting more comfortable with it, I'm playing it faster. So yeah.
It gets very deep.
It does. Yes. I've seen a complete playthrough of the game, so I know what to expect. Right. There was no way I would have played it otherwise. There's no way.
I can't see you going in blind to the house.
No. But it's fun because the kids haven't seen it yet, so they're getting to experience everything for the first time. So that's kind of a fun,
One of my exes used to watch me play games as like a movie. Mm-hmm. She'd just sit next to me and just watch whatever I was doing and totally enjoy it. That sounds super boring to me, but
there is a channel that my husband and I used to watch very regularly, and then now they don't really post much of anything. But girlfriend reviews. So the girlfriend just watches her boyfriend / fiance now.
That's a good idea.
Play video games and does color commentary. So
that's
awesome.
That does sound like fun.
I am playing Hollow Knight right now.
Nice.
Which is I love seeing an indie game become like crazy successful. And it sort of goes back to what we were talking about with Rings of Power. Like Hollow Knight, most of Hollow Knight is hand drawn. It's not high-end graphics or anything like that, but it is one of the best Metroidvania games ever created. Metroidvania is like, there was a game called Metroid, and in games they always refer to games as the sort of first game that did that. So there's roguelikes and there's Souls-likes and there's Metroidvanias. And it's you're jumping around platforms. You have to do all these little tricky things where you turn on a thing here and go down there and it opens something, whatever. And it's super challenging. Like the fights, there are boss fights and various levels that sort of block your progression until you get rid of the boss. And it's really good so far. Colton also, Cornell has apparently played it. Yeah, it's crazy how huge it was, because it's a 3-person studio.
Yeah, but
these
they've
dudes
got
made it
right the
together.
things they should get right.
Ooh, I like the art style.
They did everything right. I mean, there's sort of obscure lore in it. There's lots of little hints and things you can pick up about, like, the story. The puzzles are great. The combat feels exactly right. I mean, they just got so much right in this game. It's really, really nicely done.
Nice.
Yeah.
I am also thinking of restarting Disco Elysium, because I'm really frustrated with that.
Oh
game.
my God. I don't know if we can talk about Disco Elysium without Pete being here. Pete and I were actually talking yesterday.
And Brian loves that game, doesn't he?
He said, yeah, that's right. Brian and I have talked about it as well. Pete was like, yeah, I need to come on the pub so we can talk Disco Elysium. He said that like yesterday.
To just do a live stream spoiler discussion of the game.
Yes.
Brian does in fact love it.
Yes, Brian does love it. Disco Elysium is possibly the most unique game I've ever played.
I love the art style. It's just kind of like where do you go? What is
and
this?
It's like I think it's kind of like Stoner by John Williams. Like, when you describe it to someone, it doesn't sound like they should play it. You know,
kind of a novel in a video game form.
It's basically a novel where you can choose different paths, but it's done in an isometric view, and all of the artwork in it is hand drawn, and it's so weird. It is so strange. It's a totally imagined world, which is kind of like our world in the 70s if a lot of things went wrong back then. And there's lots of weird spiritual religious stuff in it. There's lots of weird political stuff in it. It's just such a bizarre game. I will not spoil anything, Fox, don't worry.
I cannot do games like Dark Souls or Sekiro. I'm just getting.
I tried Sekiro because the premise of it, I was like, I'm going to love this. I cannot wait to play this game. And my husband and I spent like 3 months passing the controller back and forth,
trying bosses,
trying so hard. And we were just like, so I enjoy something that's a challenge. I don't enjoy something where I'm like, it will take me 3 years to get through this game. Like, it's just not fun.
Try because I'm the same way. Like Souls likes, I got Bloodborne. Like, when I first got a console, I bought Bloodborne with it because
I love
everybody
watching
was
playthroughs.
raving about it.
Yeah.
I didn't even get past the very first level, the very first area. I was just like, man,
I just watch people play it.
This is not made for people with over 50-year-old reflexes. No, I can't do this I just no.
Though the design of those games are phenomenal.
Gorgeous.
They're beautiful. But the one that worked for me was Elden Ring, because it's stunningly beautiful. And there is not all, but there is a lot of the map that you can explore without getting blocked by a boss. Yeah, there are places you can't really go unless you defeat a boss, but you can kind of wander around quite a lot and see a lot of really interesting stuff and go to a lot of interesting places without having to kill a boss that's unkillable.
Derry, that is a mop of a cat.
Yeah.
Musty was doing, I want to cuddle, but as I was saying earlier to Matt, he doesn't do laps. He wants to be picked up.
Sure.
Right.
So I have to hold him.
The opposite of Fitz. He kind of looks like if you bleached Fitz and hit him in the face with a shovel.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a Himalayan, and he's grumpy because he's only had second breakfast, and
it's not enough.
Well, as I said, he's a rescuer. He's had a traumatized past, and he doesn't have very many teeth left, and he gets fed in little bits a lot through the day.
Right.
And, so he's only had second breakfast.
You were talking about You were talking about don't have the patience to play video games where it takes you years to beat something. I literally have been playing Dead Cells for 2.5 years, and I only finally beat the Hand of the King for the first time, like a week and a half.
Woo!
I mean, I
Okay.
am incredibly impressed by your dedication, Evie.
Well, to be fair, I was probably like holding, playing the game with a hand tied behind my back,
Sure.
figuratively, because Aaron kept yelling at me like, "Why don't you look it up? Look up walkthroughs, look up like gameplay stuff." I'm like, "That's cheating. I'm not doing it. Do it for myself."
Yeah.
I'm not.
I
nearly
love
patient
story.
enough.
I'm not either. I love story games where like it's not meant to just frustrate you for months.
So
But-
my thing is like, I actually play games just to kill the stuff. So like the repetitiveness of like Dead Cells and Rogue and Hades, like the roguelike play style, that totally works for me because I honestly wasn't worried about like, oh, I gotta beat the boss. It's like, all right, I'm just gonna play this to play it so I can kill stuff. But Aaron did congratulate me by finally beating the boss a second time a week and a half later, which was Friday night. He's like, I bought the DLC for you, so I have now like basically the full game. So
I was about to say, The Wolf Among Us is a fantastic game.
I have not played that.
The Walking Dead
I want
Telltale,
to.
though, is one of my favorite video games of all time.
my husband plays that one and the Batman one of Telltale.
That's also very good.
They've got an Expanse one that's been released.
Oh, did they?
Oh,
I remember they shut down. So
one of my favorite sci-fi TV shows.
I
Brian's yelling at me.
I was getting
Yeah.
caps lock from Brian.
Apparently,
yeah,
I
I
have
was real
to get
sad
the
when
Wolf
Telltale
Among
went
Us.
under.
I love the tone difference there where Brian's like, Tori, you should try Wolf Among Us.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Ah, do it now."
I would love to play more like co-op style games, but I have my little group of gamer friends, and that's who I play with because I, as a female on the gaming internet, just stay far away, unfortunately.
Even as a male,
It's
I know it's much worse for
so bad.
women, but there are a couple of games. There was one that came out not too long ago called. It was based on the Alien franchise, Alien Fireteam, I think it was called.
Mm.
And it was actually a lot of fun. You play 4 Marines, and you have to go into an infested level.
Nice.
And you just get swarmed by tons and tons of aliens. You have to do a lot of like if you do it well, the way it works best is everybody has different strengths. One guy's got a really heavy gun and another guy's got explosives, and and you have to sort of coordinate. But if you don't have any friends who are playing it, what you do is say, I want to play this level, and you get thrown into a group with 3 14-year-old boys who are just screaming obscenities the whole time, and then you leave before the level's finished because it's too annoying.
Yeah.
You could just mute them.
Kale is here. Hi, Kale.
Or you can just get a bunch of bots and play multiplayer because that's another.
Well, what's also fun in those games is sometimes you get thrown into a group who obviously do know each other, but they're short one person. But they're also in Afghanistan or somewhere. And they're all joking and yelling at each other in a language you totally don't understand. And all you can do is say, guys, I'm really sorry, but do you speak English or German?
Yeah.
And they laugh at you, and then you're like, yeah, okay, I'll just mute them. Whatever.
I made the attempt, and I even offered an option that wasn't English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was playing a pirate game, and it's a co-op and PvP game. So you and your friends have a pirate ship, and when you're sailing around, you can run into other pirate ships which have a crew of real people on them.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, it was really cool. And like me and a friend were on a small ship, and he had to go do something like emergency. So I was like, yeah, I'll just anchor and I'll just stay here and fish off the top of the boat. And another ship came by, and I was like, oh God, we're going to get sunk. And they pulled up next to me, and they all jumped off of their ship onto my ship, and I started shooting them because I was like, "You're not taking our ship without a fight," you know. And they're yelling at me in French over the headphones. And then I was like, "I don't speak French. What are you talking?" And they're like, "Stop shooting! Stop shooting! Stop shooting!" And they were like, "No, we wanted to help you." They were obviously like, they'd been playing the game forever. They had all of the fancy stuff and whatever, and they gave me a whole bunch of stuff.
That's
Like
really
stuff
cool.
that I never like could have gotten myself. And then they sank my ship.
Oh, but you've got stuff now to move forward on. So
Yeah,
that's funny.
so ridiculous.
Well, you did shoot at them, so yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
That's funny.
Call of Duty and Halo were horrible if you're a black person. Yeah,
I believe you. I do.
I like I said in the
unfortunately
comments,
doesn't surprise me.
I survived the original Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer. I was like 8. That was a fun experience.
Well,
Yeah.
as someone who only just got into playing Call of Duty like last year, it's still a bunch of bigots in there. So
Yeah, people just feel free to be like their worst selves on Call of Duty for some reason. I don't know.
It's
It's-
I mean, it's
in
also
general,
like
it's a bunch of 12-year-olds trying to act tough, and they think bigotry is the way.
NFL
they think
football
being an asshole
games
is
and
like
Call of
dirt.
Duty are the redneckiest games there are.
Well, okay, hold on. There was a time
No?
Call of Duty was great, and now it's become cringy. So
Yes, Aaron, that is Sea of Thieves. Yeah. Sea of Thieves was a lot of fun, especially if you've got like a full crew. Every now and then we would get a really big boat. There are 3 different sort of sizes of ships you can get. And we would have 4 people. So you'd have somebody manning the cannon, someone steering, someone adjusting the sails, you know, someone fishing off the back, whatever. Or actually repairing below decks. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. I mean, it's those are games I've never been interested in. I mean, I don't care about sports ball, and I don't have the reflexes for Call of Duty. I get killed by 12-year-olds like in seconds, and I
stayed away from MMOs.
that isn't
because
fun.
I can't do that many different kinds of data in my face to react to anything, and so I'm like, it's just too overwhelming. But I can do.
Well, I guess I'm a
complicated and
redneck
complex
because
puzzle
I like Call of Duty
solving.
and football. So
I'm not saying only rednecks like football and Call of Duty, but
It's like
So you guys are talking about football that's not football. So you know.
yeah, NFL. That's why I say NFL, because it's not football.
well,
So-
NFL basically rugby just with pads.
Just on with safety. with
Rugby
safety
for
on.
pussies. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
if you're more blunt, yes.
Yeah.
So I've watched rugby. I'm like,
It's rugby
Jesus
on easy
Christ.
mode.
The-
Rugby is serious, but then go onto YouTube and watch some Aussie rules.
Aussie rules is mental. Like that's just a crazy game because
Like,
I
how
mean
do you
it
not
was
mix
derived
these
out
two?
of the Gaelic football, which is just fucking madness. Just madness.
K2U3, basically Mario, Super Mario 2, Super Mario Lost Worlds, Super Mario 3, Super Mario World. That's
Can we
it.
just summarize by like anything that has Mario in the title?
I haven't played Paper Mario, but I am very. There's a new Mario game that's I think supposed to be coming out, but as someone who last and only played The Legend of Zelda, like the gold Nintendo cartridge back in the day, I am very excited about the new Zelda game coming out in October.
That's
So,
awesome.
where you get to actually play Zelda and the gameplay looks gorgeous. So,
I've probably played more hours of Mario Kart than any other game I've ever played in my life. So
Spyro, though, I know it's not a Nintendo game, but Spyro's great.
I've only
Mario
ever done
Kart
puzzle
was
games.
my
and
thing when I was a kid.
Ubisoft was mentioned earlier, and Ubisoft did Myst, and I spent months on that, and I'm actually doing a replay of the third game, Revelation. at the moment.
Ubisoft didn't do Myst.
And Lego Star
We've done the
Wars.
pre-release.
Oh, the re-release. Yeah. It was
Yeah, the
originally done by
remastered one.
Cyan Studios. I
Cyan.
don't know why I remember that, but
Because they had their really annoying logo that took forever to go through the thing at the beginning. That's
Yep.
Darko, if you
on
want
the
even
disc.
if you want even more nostalgia vibes, Darko, please tell me, since you like or at least know of the gold cartridge, Gauntlet, the Nintendo game. I know it was started as an arcade game, but the Nintendo version of Gauntlet. Fantastic. I literally, that is such a nostalgia thing for me that I literally went to eBay, got a Nintendo cartridge of the Gauntlet game. I don't even have a Nintendo. So, Pete, you need to hop on here so you can talk to Matt about Disco Elysium.
Yeah, like we literally stopped talking about it because you weren't here.
Not only Matt, but turns out Britton is also a fan of Disco Elysium. So,
well,
Pete,
I need to restart it because I've had a couple of false starts with that game.
Okay.
It's also an insanely replayable game.
Yeah.
It's surprising how replayable it is. I immediately started a second playthrough when I finished it, and just made some different choices, and it turned out totally different. It's really, really, it's an amazing game. And Nintendo, like Zelda, feels like a massive gap in my video game knowledge because I've never had a Nintendo anything. And I keep wanting to play, especially like the last one, The Legend of whatever. But I don't have a Nintendo anything. I don't really want to buy one, just play one game. And those kind of cartoony games in general are just not my thing so much. But yeah.
We never had a gaming console until I was a grown up. And then it was the kids. And yeah, so it was PC games that were all I could have, or could be guaranteed of being able to spend any time on. So, and yeah, it was missed on the discs. So even now playing the remastered versions, I remember where you had to take the disc out and change it for another one. So,
I used to play an Atari console with those big chunky cartridges. Dunk.
Blow on it, just the right angle to clean the
dust off the contacts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I had for a long time as a kid, I had sort of an L-shaped dent in my hand because of the square Atari joysticks. And if you played those long enough, you always have this sort of corner
formed around it
into your hand. Yeah. If you don't blow the cartridge, you are not a gamer.
That's right. If you don't get that reference, well.
Yeah. Do you know Margaret Mayhew? Yeah.
She's massive. She's literally a legend here. They recently redid a Central Park in Christchurch because they're still rebuilding Christchurch after the massive earthquakes there a few years ago.
Yeah.
And they've just finished this beautiful playground, and it's the Margaret Mayhew playground. And they've brought in elements from her books. So the climbing castle bit that usually goes in children's playgrounds has been built and coloured as close as they can get it safely to the pirate ship in one of her books. And the swings over here are done like it's a real strong homage to Margaret Mayhew because she's such a massive force in New Zealand literary circles. So yeah, she's amazing, and her books are actually remarkably good.
I was there right after the earthquake.
Yeah,
like months later, just a few months later.
Oh, wow!
And the guy I was traveling with knew a lady who worked in health and safety or something.
Oh my god!
So she actually got us hard hats, and we went into a lot of the condemned buildings and stuff. It was terrifying. The whole city was terrifying. Like my friends lived out in the suburbs where the earthquake wasn't as much. And I got up early in the morning because I was jet lagged, and I went for a walk up and down their street. And I came back and I asked them, I was like, "Why do all the houses look fine, but all of the houses have a little pile of bricks on the street in front of them? What's that about?" And she was like, "Oh, that's all of the chimneys."
Yeah.
I was like, "What?"
It was a real problem. And they actually used it as it was, what's the word I'm
See,
looking
you
for?
mean-
It was the catalyst for them changing the laws in South Island around having indoor fires, because you aren't allowed now to build a house in New Zealand with an indoor fire. You have to
wow.
have it be a gas one with all of the, CO2 emission readings and things. You're not allowed an open fire anymore in a new build house, and they're bringing the dates up on older houses where you've got to have it taken out
Oh wow. Okay.
because they're dangerous. Chimneys
Yeah.
falling is a problem.
I didn't realize that Russell Crowe was originally from New Zealand. I thought he was Australian. So
He left here very young, and he's one of the rare occasions where, even though he's really famous, we kind of don't mind that Aussie claims him. But
He's a bit of a dick.
there's
Yeah.
like no Aus-
I always, when I think of
There's
Russell
actually-
Crowe, I always think of that South Park gag where he's going around the world and beating up people.
yeah,
has that
he's
ship.
not a nice person.
It's
But Anthony Starr and Carl Urban, great Kiwis, and I love that they both insist that no, we're from New Zealand. Aussie haven't been
Isn't
allowed.
Guy
to
Pearce
claim them.
also from New Zealand, or is he from Australia?
Who was that?
Guy
Guy
Pearce.
Pearce.
Guy Pearce. He's Australian.
I'm pretty sure he's an Aussie. There are a lot of understanding sort of the market in the southern
Australian.
hemisphere, the English speaking southern hemisphere. Like, if you're a Kiwi, this is the size of your market, right? And if you're an Australian, your market is suddenly much bigger. So a lot of bands, like Nick Cave, is a Kiwi. But Crowded House are Kiwis.
If they get claimed, there is nothing more guaranteed to piss off a Kiwi as somebody calling Crowded House an Australian band. You will get some really, really angry Kiwis.
But they did not, like, no one in the world outside of New Zealand had ever heard of them until they started playing and moved to Melbourne. They got big
Debatable.
on the Melbourne and Sydney.
They actually got big when they did a few pub night, blah, 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 a very small tour in the UK, and from there they went to Australia. But
right.
That's where the hype began. Was when they went to the UK, which isn't unusual for almost everybody from New Zealand. You have to leave New Zealand to become famous. Also
Australia. Like, I mean, Australia as a market. I mean, we've only got 22 million people. That's like the nighttime population of New York. It's like,
and we have 4.
Not that many. Yeah,
4 million. So
yeah,
a McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly.
Market's very small, but it does mean that those who have talent, if they want to really hone their craft, can stay here for a long time and get very good at what they're doing before they then go and put their feet into deeper waters.
Yeah.
And that's, where we get shows like The Boys. Suddenly both of their leading actors are Kiwis. One of the biggest shows on Amazon Prime of all time. And we're very proud of them.
Yeah.
Also,
as a nation, we're a bit obnoxious about it.
He was also Judge Dredd, and he
was
was in
the
an
best
actually
Judge
good
Dredd.
Judge. He was in a really good one that should have
It's
had a
because he's
franchise.
a geek. Like, he's actually a proper geek, and he understood that Judge Dredd doesn't take his helmet off.
Yeah.
And this is not ever going to be a vehicle for you to show off how handsome you are, because you have to keep the
You get to
helmet
show
on.
off your chin. That's it.
If you've got a good jaw, you've got a good chin, and you can do the scowl, then you'll be good. And he nailed it. He did really well in Judge Dredd. Loved it. Lena Headey was amazing in that. She really was. But
She's good at
it's
playing
hard to remember
unhinged
she was
Annie.
Cersei.
I don't think I've seen that Judge Dredd.
Oh, it's really good, Matt.
I think
It's
I
really good
DNF'd
for a
the
Judge
Stallone
Dredd
Judge
movie.
Dredd. Like,
Oh, that's awful. That's
I
really
started
awful.
watching that and I was like, okay, it's Judge Dredd, so I can stick with it. And then I got up to the point where he took his helmet off, and I was like, I'm out. That's no.
The Sly one is dreadful. It's truly dreadful. The Carl Urban one is like a really, really good. This is a dark comic. Let's watch it for a couple of hours.
Right.
And really good. And Lena Headey plays like a city boss, and so good in that. So good in that. Enterprise, Carl Urban doing Bones. He wanted that. he really wanted that because, like I said, he's a geek, and he was like, "Oh, I could play Bones."
And he was really good.
He
was really good.
amazing.
The first thing I knew him from was the Bourne Supremacy. He plays the Russian assassin in that movie.
Yep.
I didn't realize he was a Kiwi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, talking earlier about Xena and Hercules, a couple of his really early roles were in that.
Oh, okay.
And he's so young in them. You're like, oh, he was just your baby. Like he's still got puppy fat. And you're like, oh, look at him.
It's like when I see old photos of Clint Eastwood, you're like, his face is smooth.
He was a very handsome young man.
He was a good-looking, like, kind of girly boy in a way.
He's got an adult son who is the absolute spitting image of him. And my God, is he a handsome man.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. But, then you look at Clint Eastwood now, and he's like all craggy, and you're like, you could be part of a mountain fascia. Like,
he's one of my favorite actors ever. I love like Clint Eastwood westerns specifically. I just love.
For the longest time, he was who I would think of when I was thinking of Vimes from Discworld, because he's described as being very craggy and having a squint when he got intense, and I'm like, I can see Clint Eastwood.
Although Vimes is
Eastwood moment.
you will definitely be the right. You will definitely be the right person to correct me if I'm wrong. Vimes is short, isn't he?
He's not tall.
Okay.
I mean, that's the thing, is he's average. He's just average.
He's just a sort of average dude. Yeah. We've done our work. Our work here is done. Osa is going to do a Firefly rewatch.
I don't know where it's streaming though. That's the thing. Is it on Hulu?
Prime.
There you go.
Yeah, here it's on Prime.
Yeah, I own it on Prime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to look it up then.
I own it on
DVD. that's a Kiwi band I haven't heard of in a long time. Fat Freddy's Drop.
Oh my God, they're so good.
Yeah, Fat Freddy's Drop are very cool. My Kiwi housemate in Sydney introduced me to Fat Freddy. Yeah.
Oh my God, they did a song called something Frequency. It don't come to me, but it's just such a groove. Just like
yeah,
it's awesome.
They are very groovy. Listen, everybody, it's been over a couple hours. It's getting late here. It's getting early for Derry.
And the cat needs third breakfast.
Yeah, well, Fitz's dinner is overdue. That's part of it. She's eyeing me. She's not yelling constantly, which is nice, but I should feed her. So thank you all for joining in the comments and on screen. It has been a pleasure. All of you are welcome anytime in the pub.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
so good
pleasure.
to see you guys.
There will be another pub next Sunday, as usual, same time, same channel.
Same bit time, same bit place.
Exactly. I don't think anything's coming up. Today was touch and go because my best friend is celebrating his birthday. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'll cancel the Sunday pub for that. But then I had a gout flare up. So I can't really walk right now. Yeah. Although with me, it's apparently genetic. It doesn't have anything to do with eating or drinking.
Well, that's not as fun.
No, I didn't even drink lots of wine
when you
to
didn't
earn
drink.
it. Yeah, it really sucks. I was talking to my doctor about it, and I was like, how can I be getting this? You get it from like eating this and drinking lots of alcohol, and I don't drink alcohol at all, except occasionally when I go out to the pub. And they were like, no, it can be genetic. It just,
that's it.
Yeah, my body generates the wrong kind of stuff.
Had to take.
Yeah, that's right. Darko's had gout as well.
Your body's just like, you know what, Matt? Here you go, buddy.
Yeah, screw your big toe. That's the weirdest thing about it. It's like this thing that your body produces,
it's so specific.
It sits in your big toe. Actually, this time, the cool thing about it this time, usually it's my left big toe. This time, it was both big toes. And then the next day, it was also my knee.
Oh
Which
no,
is,
it's spreading.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
Oh my god, I just did it. Sorry.
So
We were talking about Rick Mail. So, oh my god, it's spreading.
I'm trying not to walk or bend my right leg for the last couple of days. So, but it seems to be slowly getting better. So, but gout is the reason there is a pub tonight. So there is something good from it.
Okay, yay.
I didn't have to cancel and go to a party instead.
Okay.
Cool.
We're all
Anyway,
introvert readers here.
I hope everybody reads awesome stuff. I hope everybody has an awesome week, and I will see most of you next Sunday. See you later.
Highly probable.
Bye.